Welcome to One Tired Teacher, episode 85, Increasing Social and Emotional Learning Using STEM. Today I have a very special guest, Claire Meschkat from Vivify STEM. Oh, she is really unbelievable. I feel like I have had the best guests in the last couple of weeks. So if you've missed an episode, you want to make sure that you go back. I'm going to link to several that we were like on a really good roll. And Claire, she is another incredible person that I have spoken to about just passionate topics. And in this case, we're talking about social and emotional learning and how we can really do a good job of covering these components during our STEM instruction. It's really powerful. I hope you stick around.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Debery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Debery.
Hey, so today is such a good day. It's such an unbelievable episode. I am really excited about it. Claire from Vivify STEM just is a wealth of information, and she's like, you know how you just know right away when you like someone and you can feel like the connection even across the computer screen. That's how I felt with Claire immediately. Like she speaks my kind of language. Now she's way beyond me as far as like being able to understand things at a level that I'm like, what? But she's really unbelievable. And I think this conversation is so necessary when we talk about social and emotional learning, especially for kids. And then when they're coming back from such a difficult time in the world for so many reasons, not besides just COVID, just, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement and all of these things these heavy things that are going on in our world. And we think that kids, you know, people are always like, kids are resilient. And sometimes I don't like that saying. And I think resilience is important. And I think perseverance and determination and learning through failure and all those things are so important. But I also think that we need to acknowledge that our kids have feelings and that they have to work through feelings. I think that's really crucial. And Claire talks about this today and about the necessity of it and gives some tips and some strategies. And it's a really helpful episode. So I hope that you will join us through the end of it because it's quite incredible. So we met through STEMCon 2020, which was unbelievable. And we also are now together presenting at the same time, presenting at the Whole Teacher Eclecticon 20 conference, which looks at the whole teacher and all aspects of teaching. It's going to be an amazing opportunity. I hope that you will join us there as well. You can join or you can enroll at bit.ly.com/WTE Debery, DEBOREE. So that's bit.ly.com/WTE Debery. I hope that you join us. The link is in the show notes. Let's get on with the show. So I'm excited to have Claire Meschkat from Vivify STEM here with me today. I'm very excited to have you, Claire, and we are going to be talking about increasing social and emotional learning with STEM, which is fascinating. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad. I'm really glad you're here. I love this conversation and I'm excited to hear about it. And I definitely want you to tell my listeners like a little bit about Vivify. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Like I sometimes catch myself and start feeling like I'm saying it wrong. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. Vivify is not a word you use every day, but so it means to bring something to life. So I guess more of a background of where I'm from is that I've been an informal STEM educator for the last 6 years, but prior to that, I actually am an engineer. So I went to school with my business partner. We were both classmates and roommates. Natasha, you may know her from STEMCon 2020. Mm-hmm. But we were classmates and roommates, and we both graduated as aerospace engineers. And interestingly enough, we both had minors in educational fields. So her minor was in women's studies. She was really interested in why girls pursue STEM and then end up dropping out or not continuing in it. So she studied that while we were in school. And then I got a minor in creative studies because I was really interested in how our brain works, how we can become more creative, and how we can really unlock our potential to problem solve better. So,
Oh, I
so
love that. How fascinating.
yeah, so I always wanted to be an engineer. I thought it's like where my brain was wired, and I still think it is, but my heart was always in education. So it took me a while to figure that out. So after college, Natasha and I both went into engineering fields. She worked in a naval research lab. I worked in aviation and space exploration, designing airplanes and spacecraft. But
Wow.
all the while, like as a side job, we would be out in schools and helping run after school programs and teaching kids what it's like to be an engineer, launching rockets with them, and just really fell in love with that. And so
That's
then,
so cool.
yeah, so then this like deep rooted passion for helping kids led us to leave our engineering jobs about 6 years ago and dive head on into education. So
That
that's
is
where we
incredible.
are.
What an incredible story. And I do and like if you were at SimCon, which that was so awesome. Like
Yes.
that, what I remember hearing a little bit of your story and I'm like, I was so fascinated. Like I'm like, that's just really unbelievable. And I totally forgot like that was like the whole background part of it. And I always think, and couldn't remember which one of you had the like, what did you say, aviation, like the
Yes.
flight, like the I can't think of the word.
Yes.
Like you created like airplanes and things like that. Isn't that what you said?
That's right. Hmm.
Yeah, and my dad was a pilot in the Air Force, so I remember thinking at the time, oh, I remember I went to this flight simulator in where were we? I don't know. Like, where would that be? It was Homestead or I mean, I know I should know, but like, I don't have a lot of memories of my dad. So like the few that I have, we went to this flight simulator and we actually went up in it and he like was, flying the simulator or whatever. And
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
I was like kind of bored. He was in like heaven, but also I felt like it really felt like you were in an airplane. Like it was a really crazy experience. But now I can't remember for the life of me where we were. I don't know if it was Homestead or if you actually were like somewhere else. Like I don't know where else we would have been. But anyway, so I remember when you talked about that, I was like, oh, I know a little bit about that. Not very much, but
Yeah.
but a little. Yeah, that's so crazy. I love that your heart was like, I want to be with kids. Like I want to help kids like see their potential and I love that. I think that's so cool.
Yeah. And so I think the thing is that I've learned is that with STEM, like in my background, I love space exploration and figuring out how airplanes fly and all that stuff. And I thought, oh, well, then I should be designing them and everything. But what I really loved was telling other people about it. I love talking about those things. It's like, oh, that's what teachers do, is they help others do the things that they're passionate about and get to share that passion with them. So I'm so excited to now be in this role and see how kids can achieve so much when you inspire them with something
Yes.
that's in the real world.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think that's really cool. And I think that we need that. We need that for kids, especially our kids, now when they have like such a world available to them, but sometimes I don't think they realize that they do have all these different options. So I
Yes.
think it's really important to motivate them and like kind of inspire them to step into those professions and to try those things. Like I'm curious what Natasha found out about like why women go into those and then like fizzle out.
Yeah, I
Did
think,
you read
I
with
mean,
her?
we'd have to have Natasha on here. She's
We'd
the
have to. You're
expert.
right. We would have to. Yeah.
But
I
I've,
thought she gave you some insight maybe.
yes, I mean, we've definitely had a lot of conversations about it because that helps us frame how we approach teaching girls about STEM. And
Yes.
a lot of that, there's been a lot of research that has proven that it's really their own mindset and thinking, well, I'm not good at math, and so I can't do this. So there would be studies that
Oh.
show that a guy that was this is mostly in college that they did these studies in, a guy would make like a C on a test and be like, yes, I passed, I can do this. And a girl would make a B and think, oh no, I'm a failure, I'm in the wrong place. And
Wow.
so, why is that?
Yeah, that's
um,
interesting.
so yes, so it's really been interesting to see, well, how can we change those emotions and helping kids take control of their emotions and looking at the bigger picture and not thinking
Yeah.
that they are the failure, but think about their effort. And maybe you had really good effort there and you just keep going. You're not the failure. You just
Yeah.
experienced a failure. So I think, that's what I really like about STEM is that STEM skills are really life skills,
Yeah.
that teamwork, the problem solving, the critical thinking. And
The
that's why I
grit,
think,
the
you know,
perseverance. Yeah, all
yeah.
of that. Yes.
So, and before I get ahead of myself here, but even with the social emotional learning, like
Mhm.
all of that wrapped up into STEM is just such amazing practice for what kids are going to experience beyond the classroom.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Okay. So yeah, let's get to that because we're talking about like around it and I'm like, "Oh, I'm excited about it." I want to say first of all that Claire and I, excuse me, are presenting at the whole teacher eclecticon 2020. So we're very excited about that. I know. Woo! I'm so excited. I like after STEMCon, I didn't think there was any possible way that it could be like bigger, better, whatever. I still think that's like an amazing experience, but I'm excited to see what's going to come of this. Are
Yes,
you?
I
Yeah.
love all the presenters that are coming into this. I just love bringing all those minds together. It's like a mastermind. I mean, really, if you think
It
about,
really is. Yeah, it's really unbelievable. With such a like the whole we actually focused on like all parts of teaching and all parts of like who you are as a teacher and nourishing that and and so that you can in turn do that for children, which I think that's really incredible.
yes, I bought a whole new notebook. I'm ready to take notes and learn from
Yes.
all these amazing people.
Me too. And I bought a shirt. So I'm like, I hope this shirt gets here on time. So
Yes.
yeah, I just did that yesterday. I'm like, okay, I'm getting a shirt. Anyway, I feel like I'm starting a collection of t-shirts and I just recently cleaned out my closet and I'm like, and I was getting rid of like shirts from places I've been and I'm like, do I need to keep this? And now I'm like, well, I guess I like depleted my collection.
There you go. Start new.
So talk about why specifically like social and emotional learning like specifically with STEM, like why would we go in the STEM kind of like in that way of thinking?
Sure. Well, right now I feel like there's even more so than ever, there's going to be this huge need as we go back to school or maybe even continue the distance learning. We have all these kids that have big emotions and big feelings that are going through things right now that they've never experienced before. And we're going to have to address those things regardless of what you teach. But like I mentioned earlier, with STEM, you are really going to bring out a lot of those emotions in ways that they probably haven't experienced in the last, I'm talking about in the fall, with the
Yes.
last 6 months since they,
Yes.
had to stay home. So, having to work with people again and
Mhm.
having to work in teams, hopefully, or figure out how to have relationships through Zoom, um,
Yes.
and STEM can really bring that out in a way that's kind of almost passive, where they don't realize like it's not
Yeah.
like sitting them down and say, okay, now we're going to talk about emotions,
Yes. How are we
tell me
going to
what you
feel?
do
How are
when
you
you
going to
get
deal with?
angry.
Yeah. Yeah. Just talk about your big feelings. I know. No, I think that makes so much sense. I was in the classroom for a long time, for like
Mhm.
17 years. And then I've done some things outside of the classroom in the past 5 years. And I am now next year going back I'm going to be the media specialist slash like instructional technology coach and I won't be on the rotation, but I'll have like kids in and out of the, like, and my goal is to like really get them in and get them excited about learning and thinking and reading. And also like, I want to have a maker space. So I'm excited about that. But my big goal with my maker space is based on social and emotional learning. I want it to be a place that they can come and create, but also talk, because I was a student support specialist last year and I dealt with behavior all year, which is behavior issue, like I'm not really a disciplinarian. I'm more of a, let me figure out why that you're acting like this is happening, and let's figure it out together and work through it. And I don't think I always made like the teachers in my school super happy, because I think they wanted me to come get them out of the class, and that was not my thing. So this is going to be a much better role for me. But one of the things that I feel like I learned through some failure, which I think is important. And I definitely believe that you can, and that sometimes is the best way for you to figure it out, because you know, this is the way it's not going to work. But what I do know is that I had some incredible relationships and connections with kids, and I don't want to lose that. Like, that's a really important part to me. So I want to have a place for them to come where they still have a connection to me, but yet it's on a different level. It's in a different way.
Oh, I
So I'm
love
excited.
that. That's
Yeah,
such
I'm
an
really
amazing
excited.
role to be in.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think I like didn't actually even really see it coming. It's kind of like I asked for it on accident, and then all of a sudden it's like, this is what you're going to do, and I'm like, what? I am? You're moving me? Like, I've never been moved before. Like, I thought, I'm like, I'm getting demoted. Like, that's what I felt like at first. And then I was like, wait a minute. I'm getting exactly what I want. So why would I think that this is something bad? So I'm excited about it. So what are some ways that teachers in their classroom, what are some things that they can do to kind of hit on those social and emotional learning aspects?
So, I mean, there's just so much. So first, maybe we should break down what the social
Yes.
emotional learning
Yes.
topics
That's
are.
a great
So,
idea.
the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning is what kind of set what the standard is for SEL. And so they have indicated that there are 5 cognitive and behavioral competencies that are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. And those all kind of are intertwined. So I had to actually look at my notes to make sure I was reading those correctly. But nurturing these skills is what helps children take the responsibility for their actions, and then in turn make good choices in academics as well as outside the classroom, in their home life or in their communities. So let's just talk about one. I guess maybe we should start with just one at a time. But
Okay.
the main thing is to start off with this self-awareness. That's the first competency. And that's where kids need to recognize what their emotions are. And so we need to figure out how to highlight those in our classrooms. And in STEM, it's such a great way to make those emotions come out so that we can identify them, because they're working in teams with probably people that they don't necessarily
love.
get along with all the time. Yeah, so being able to identify, like, maybe if they're in a team and they didn't get partnered with their best friend, we've all seen this happen, they throw a fit and like, well, I'm not going to work with them. Or maybe they do move forward and we can point that out and say, hey, I love the way that you worked in this group. And even though I could tell you were frustrated, you still were able to work as a team. So helping them identify in themselves of, oh, I did experience that emotion, but see how I moved past that? Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
So one way that I do that in the STEM classroom specifically, which I think is so important, is at the end of a STEM engineering design challenge, is that we make sure to have time for reflection. And talk as a class or in group settings, like, what went well? What was your biggest struggle during this design challenge? Where did you get frustrated? How did you overcome those things? I think without that reflection, like, we have missed it. So
right. No, that's like the gold nugget right there. Like, and I feel like very often we feel in the classroom as teachers, like we don't have enough time. And so we skip on that really important element, but that's where you see so much growth and so much change take place during that. I
Yeah,
think that part has to be a part of it for sure.
exactly. Yeah. I think teachers, we're such, to generalize, we're such like perfectionists and overachievers. Like we've got this to-do list, like we got to make sure we get here and everything. But if we forget that part, it's not about making the thing. It's about
No,
how
you're
we
right.
get there.
It's
So
about, yeah, it's the whole process. I recently heard this on a podcast, and they were talking about making sure that you have the child before the content and not the content before the child. And I was like, yes, I'm like, that is so true, because you get this like tunnel vision of, I got to get through this standard, and I'm working towards this assessment or whatever. And you lose like the magic sometimes that's
yeah,
occurring right in front of you.
yeah.
So,
Oh, I love
but I
that.
think some of that is not necessarily like, I feel like it's the system that we're put in as teachers.
Mhm.
Like I feel like when I first started teaching, because I am a lot older than you are. I feel like when I first started teaching, it was like you kind of like embrace those teachable moments. Like that was something that we talked about doing, and it was like celebrated. Now I feel like it's so, I hate this word rigor, but I feel like it's so rigorous or it's so like you are on this step and then I'm doing this and then this is next and we all must be doing it at the same time. And so I feel like that's an explanation to why sometimes you lose that really important reflective piece, because you're not taking advantage of those teachable moments anymore because you feel like you're in such a rush.
So true. Very true. And that's one of the reasons why I think I'm an informal educator than in the classroom right now.
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
running an after school program, if you start an after school STEM program, that's really conducive to those kind of environments. It becomes more child led. And then you can have those long discussions. You don't have to check the boxes and get through whatever
No,
you
yeah.
do. So
You have
that's
like the best of the, yeah, the
yeah,
best of teaching. You have that.
yeah.
That's really exciting. That's exciting. So you get through that kind of self-awareness of
Mhm.
recognizing those feelings and understanding like what those feelings are, and then what's the next step?
So then the next step is the self-management. So once you've figured out what those emotions are, it's how do you
Mhm.
regulate them, and be able to achieve your goals in light of what you know about yourself, pretty much.
Mhm.
So there's a couple things that I do to help with this in STEM programming, and one is to set rules, and that seems very basic. I mean, we all have our procedures in our classrooms,
Mhm.
but to have the kids help you set these rules and make them more of an oath. So like when
Mhm.
my kids would come into my classroom, we'd have to recite this oath, and it was always about how to regulate our emotions, how we're going to approach the day in the STEM activities.
Mhm.
And there were four things that we'd have to promise. So I'd have my kids raise their hands, and they'd have to say, I promise to respect my classmates, my teacher, and myself. I promise to try my best. I
Mhm.
promise to believe in myself. And then, of course, I promise to be safe. um,
Yeah, that's
but having
great.
the kids helped come up with those things, like how are we going
Yes.
to approach our challenges? Um, so having those expectations set helps them regulate their emotions. And
Mhm.
then the second thing that I do is self-management, which we touched on earlier, is failing forward and being able to
Ah.
teach how to fail well. And
Mhm.
that's my favorite thing to teach, which
Yeah.
is like a major fear. It was a major fear of me growing up. So I feel like this personal like vendetta, like we need to overcome failure because I struggled with it so much growing up.
Yes. No, you're right. And it does. And like, that's a life skill. Like that sets you up
Yes.
for being able to handle big obstacles that occur in your life. And I think that is so important, because so many kids, I saw them even in my own like graduating class. We'd get to college and they would be like, they didn't know what to do. They'd never failed before. They didn't know what it felt like to struggle or have to like get through. And like, they weren't doing as perfectly as they were in high school, and they didn't know how to function.
Yes.
So I think it really makes it. I think it's an important thing for kids to know.
Exactly. And I'm sure you saw when you were taking kids out of their classrooms that were
Yeah.
probably struggling with some failure issues.
Yes,
That might have
absolutely.
been the root cause. They just don't know how to handle where do you go
Yes.
from there? So
They feel they don't want to feel what they would feel as or interpret as like, and I hate to say this, but stupid. They didn't want to feel that way in front of their peers, especially the older kids. Like they had a much harder time
yes,
with that than they did at the younger ages. And and it's like talking them through that, like it being okay for you not to know yet, that you haven't figured it out yet. But that whole power of yet was a big deal. But yeah, no, you're right. That was a lot of reason. And because it would always come back to some reason why they were, acting that way.
right. So it's kind of you have to train your brain not only to see failure as like it's okay, but as that it's necessary. Like
Mhm.
you have to fail in order to succeed, which is like
Yes.
so counterintuitive, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
one way that I really liked doing this, and it was really successful in my programs, is to make failure a requirement in my STEM classroom.
Ooh.
So,
Ooh,
and to
that
do
just gave
this,
me a little anxiety. I might need to
yeah,
work through that myself.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not used to this. And kids are like, wait, what? Like, I don't even know how to do that. So,
Yeah.
like, one of my favorite challenges is called the Space Lander Challenge. Most things I do is about space because I just love it. But we have this design challenge where kids have a cup, and then they have 2 ping pong balls that go in the cup, and then a platform that the cup sits on. And
Okay.
what they have to do is figure out a way of when they drop this cup that's stuck to this platform with the ping pong balls in it, when they drop it to the floor, you want the ping pong balls to not pop out. So the setup is that you have this spacecraft that's coming down and it has astronauts inside and you want to keep them safe. So you have to design a way to absorb the impact when you drop this spacecraft so that the astronauts don't pop out. So the kids work on this
Okay.
design challenge. They figure out how to, build some sort of shock absorption on the bottom of this
Uh-huh.
spacecraft. They had cotton balls or, whatever it is. They end up succeeding eventually after some
Uh-huh.
trial and error. Most of them fail several times, get really frustrated, overcome that. So finally, when we succeed, I then say, wait, we just heard that this actually is not a friendly spacecraft with astronauts. These are aliens that are coming down to steal all of our pizza. And so then we're like, we have to sabotage this. So now you have to use what you learned in failure to
Uh-huh.
make your spacecraft now actually fail on purpose.
On
And so,
purpose. Yes. Oh, I
so
love that.
if they didn't learn how to fail the first time, then they wouldn't really know, well, how then do I make it pop out?
Yeah. How do I get them to come out? Yes. That
So
makes total sense. How fun. Do you have that? Like, do you have that available? That,
yes, yes,
that specific challenge? Okay. I'll link to that in the show notes for sure. Because
awesome. Yeah,
like, yeah.
so if you can reverse engineer any of your STEM challenges to make it to where failure becomes a requirement, then it sets this tone of, okay, so now I need to pay attention. When I
Uh-huh.
fail, it's not oh man, I'm not getting there. It's,
Mhm.
oh, okay, I need to learn what happened here because I might need this information later. And so that's
Yeah.
what we want to train our kids to be able to do in anything. Anytime they fail, you have to learn from it. But
Yeah. That's so
this,
cool.
highlights it more. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's so great. And, it definitely changes the way that I even think how I would set up STEM challenges or how I even set up like makerspace challenges or whatever. Yes, so that you are building in failure to happen on purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that they then learn from that and then they take that, what they've learned, and then they implement it. Oh, that makes so much sense. Okay. So we've moved, now we're on step 3.
Yes.
So
Uh,
self-awareness,
so
right?
that's right. Social awareness. And that's the ability to understand what others are feeling and
Mhm.
kind of put yourself in their shoes. And so that has to deal with relating to others. And how I normally set the stage for this in my classroom is to start out with empathizing with people in history. So
Mm.
there's so many books out there that are really great for read alouds if you're in the elementary classroom about
Mhm.
stories of how things were invented. So there's like one of my favorite ones is the Boo Boos That Changed the World that talks about the invention of
Ah,
Band-Aids. You read that
uh-huh.
one? It's a great
Yes.
one. There's Mr. Ferris and his wheel, about the Ferris wheel. There's the crayon man that talks about invention of crayons. But then using these or other historical figures and talk about like, how did they come up with these inventions? It's because they were trying to help people. So like even Alexander Graham Bell, I like to talk to the kids about, oh, you think about the telephone when you hear his name. Well, did you know he actually also invented the metal detector to help locate the bullet inside of assassinated President Garfield? So
wow,
cool.
I've never heard that. Yeah, that's really cool. And
Yeah,
then you're like integrating other content areas at the same time
yes,
because you're talking about history. Yes, that's so cool.
but then they're in this mindset of, oh, you make things, you do things
Yes.
to help
Yes.
people. And so when you put them in those perspectives of relating to people in history, then it starts getting their mind to think that when they empathize with the why of historical figures, it helps make their why be focused on helping others. And I
Yeah.
think that is so critical for kids these days to think outside, especially when we're stuck at home and they're by themselves or on social media where everything is about you.
Yes.
That social awareness is just so key.
I agree. We have to be really careful not to raise a generation of narcissists. So
Yeah.
we have to really be careful of that. So no, I agree. I love that. I think definitely the empathy, that's a huge factor. So
Yeah. So another thing that I do, and this has really been great during the social distancing and being able to do things during distance learning, is to create vision boards to have kids figure out, look towards their future and see what they're going to do, but frame it in a way that's helping others. So the way that we do this is with something called Student Sparks. And what this is talking to kids and figuring out what they are passionate about. And, you know, STEM, I keep telling people that I feel like STEM is one of those things where, no, not everything is STEM, but everything relates to STEM, right?
Yeah.
Like you can look at anything and I could probably figure out a way that it relates to STEM. But,
Yes, I believe you definitely could. Yeah.
So, kids will come up with their spark of what they're passionate about. And sometimes, they'll say really things that are quick off the top of their head, but to make them really think deeper, like what is it that gets you excited every day? And so some kids will say, well, football, like I want to be a professional football player. And then you can bring STEM into that and show them where they can use that to help people. Say, well, did you know that an engineer actually develops football helmets to figure out how to make it safer and so you don't have concussions? And there's sports statisticians that figure out the best way to play sports. And they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like you don't just have to play. So figuring out what gets kids so excited and how they can make the world a better place. And it really puts them as like a smaller piece of this giant puzzle when you can bring out their sparks. And so with distance learning, you can have them create their own little, like a display of their spark. You can even turn it into design challenge and say, we'll create a 3D model of whatever it is that your spark is. And then they can share it with their class.
That's really cool. Which they could almost do like a video of that, of their 3D, if they're distance learning, like they could do a video of their 3D model, and then you could put it on like a Padlet or Flipgrid or something like that, and then you could see all of them at the same time.
Exactly.
Like that would, and then they could like reply and respond to each other's things. I think that would be so cool.
So, and the teacher, as a teacher, you can share your spark too and get kids excited about it. And that will also help the parents, if they're like watching the Zoom sessions or whatever it is, get to know you as a teacher more and develops that relationship with their families too. So there's just so much you can do with building those relationships and see what kids are excited about.
I love that. All right. So I think we're on the last one. Are we on the last one?
We're on relationship skills. So there's two more.
Oh, two more. Yep.
Yeah, I know this is a lot, and they're all kind of related because we just talked about
they make total
skills. But yeah, so the relationship skills are the ability to work well in a team, which is key when you're talking about STEM, especially engineering design challenges. I always tell kids, you know, if you want to be an engineer, that's awesome. But guess what? You don't work by yourself. You have to be able to get along with each other and get along well in a team. Otherwise, there would be no people on the moon. Like, it doesn't work that way. So teamwork skills are kind of the main thing with relationship skills. So
Yeah, that's cool.
couple things I did in my classroom to build up these SEL competencies are, we had a awesome points jar, and this was in a K through 2 class that I taught last year. But I told my kids, hey, every time I overhear you saying something encouraging to your teammate or having positive self-talk, I would put like one of those little pom-pom balls in a jar.
That's cool.
And when this jar fills up, we get to celebrate and have a class party. And so, but if I hear anything negative, I would pull something out of that awesome voice.
Wow. Yeah.
So it got really interesting, because then, you know, a kid would say something negative, and then I'd pull a point out, and then everybody else would say, oh, I can't believe you did that. I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep pulling some more out, you know. So we start building each other up.
Yes.
So that's helped sets the tone for those good relationship skills. But then we'd have to actually practice teamwork in STEM. There's something that we at Vivify always kind of preach about, is that there's not all STEM is equal. We talk about the 3 stages of STEM. And
I love that.
That's like, if you're starting a STEM program, you don't just jump into some like advanced robotics competition. You have to build up these skills, and that includes SEL skills. It's not so like teamwork, perseverance, but also those relationship skills, the social awareness, that's all wrapped in there. So even before we do an engineering design challenge, we do what's called stage 1 STEM skills, where we focus on teamwork. So those kind of activities usually have to do with maybe even building a tower. You've seen a lot of those, where you have to build the tallest tower in your group. And so you focus on the communication and your teamwork, your collaboration skills. So I would open up every STEM class with one of those, just so we can set hey, you need to focus on your teamwork before we can build something.
Yeah, that's great. That's so great. And that's in stage 1?
Yes, that's what stage 1 is all about, before you move to stage 2, which is the engineering design challenges. So you got to be able to work well in those teams.
You definitely do. And I think you did a session on that at STEMCon, right? The 3 stages, because I remember that. Because I listened to it, and it was very, very good. It was extremely, it was excellent. It was extremely informative. And I'm like, this is such a great way of like thinking about it and looking at it.
Yes. So, well, you know, we learned the hard way, you know, jumping into education the way I did. I was like, oh, you know, we're going to do STEM. I'm going to teach you how to be an engineer. We're going to go through engineering design. And they're like, we don't know how to work in teams, and we're angry at each other. Like, this is not working. Like, we need to start over.
Yeah, let me start again. That's so funny. Well, you're quick learners, because you like have figured that out really fast. I mean, that, you know, but I guess when you fail or failing forward, then
that's right. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and like working as an engineer, I went through the same things. Didn't like working well in teams, and you have to struggle through that as well. So need to teach the same things that I've been through. So
right.
So then that brings us to our last SEL competency, which is responsible decision making. And that's kind of a culmination of all the other things that we've talked about. And that's where students effectively use the problem solving skills that they've been practicing to make positive choices about their personal and social behavior.
Oh.
So that's kind of
that's excellent. No, that was great. It's great. It's really, it's just really smart to like think about what you're going to do in each competency. So I think that was very helpful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Well,
I definitely want to link to anything that you have, so people can find you all.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. And I know that, you've had a lot of experience in dealing with kids' behaviors and in a lot of these areas. So I'd love to pick your brain about that too. But I think that, you know, when we're talking about social emotional learning, which I think is a big topic right now and kind of a buzzword, it's kind of overwhelming because teachers,
Yes.
wear a whole lot of hats and probably more than they should have to.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be something that's a big deal. You don't have to set a class period to say, okay, today we're doing social emotional learning, and
No,
then
you
think
can
about how you
interweave
put a
it.
course on it. It's just
Yes.
every day of, okay, take a step back and breathe, and let's
Yeah.
reflect on how we're handling our emotions during all the things that we're working on, and being
Yeah.
intentional about exercising those emotions.
No, I love that. And it's like real world practice. I mean, they're getting that real world, experience. I think that makes so much sense instead of like it as an isolated conversation. This
Yeah.
is actually, you're putting it into practice. We were, we weren't technically a Kagan school. I don't know if you've ever heard of Kagan, Spencer Kagan. It's cooperative learning, but it's cooperative learning with accountability. So it's not like the team just, it's like everybody has a role and they play a part.
Oh, I
And
love that.
it's, yeah, and there's structures. Like he came up with all these different structures of things that they do. It's so good. And so that's how we were set up. Like that's how that changed my teaching. That was like the single most influential training I've ever been to in my entire career of 24 years. Like it just changed everything. It was so good. And it was so much, I felt like, well, one thing that we were doing really well was we were creating these communities. We were creating these groups of kids that were learning how to cooperate, how to, to learn within, this group setting, instead of just like, okay, here it is, here's the group, go ahead and start. There was like specific roles and action and accountability. And I don't know, it worked really well. And while you're talking, I'm thinking of so many different like structures that are going on in my mind. I'm like, yeah, it all kind of intertwined together. So
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's good. So I really appreciate you being here and coming on and sharing this, because it was fun, and I learned a lot and enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
And I hope I'm not like too scattered, because, I don't usually do interviews after like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because my medication wears off and I can no longer concentrate. And so my mind is like going ding, ding, ding all over the place. And I'm like, she's going to think I'm crazy. So
No, not at all.
yeah.
Yeah, I hope that all made sense coming out of my mouth, because I'm not an orator at all.
No, you did. It was great. You did an excellent job. I really, again, like, I'm going to say thank you. And where can the listeners find you?
So we are at vivifystem.com, and that's where you can find all these resources. And we also have a blog where we post about social emotional learning, as well as the 3 stages of STEM.
That's cool. Yeah, they definitely need to check that out, because that's excellent information. So I will link to it. You just send me the link and I will share it in the show notes and people can find you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Trina.
Thank you. And thank you for sticking around. I know that was a long one, but it's so worth it. And if you're listening to it in 2 different parts, that's okay too. But it's just, I thought it was really good. I was really excited to talk to Claire, even though, yes, my brain was going a mile a minute. It was exciting. And I love, I love talking to passionate people and people that are really into what they do and how they serve children and students. And I think it's incredible. So hopefully you will join us at Whole Teacher Eclecticon. Again, that is bit.ly.com/WTE Debery. And we hope to see you there. This one tired teacher is feeling energized, enthusiastic, and excited and inspired. Until next time, sweet dreams and sleep tight.